The Palace of Lysoria had seen centuries of peace, a gleaming monument of crystalline architecture perched atop the floating cliffs of Yashara. It was a place where diplomats gathered, where conflicts dissolved before they were ever spoken, where the very air shimmered with serenity, but all peace ends eventually, and on that day it ended with a roar that cracked the sky. Queen Tizerial had just risen from her throne of veils when the alarms shrieked across the halls. Her guards, towering insectoid warriors bred for loyalty and combat, instantly converged around her. Their carapaces glimmered blue in the refracted light as they prepared for an emergency evacuation. But the queen did not move. Her eyes, four-faceted emeralds, widened with something the human advisors recognized instantly: fear. The human among them, Sergeant Marcus Hale, was stationed at the palace for diplomatic security training. He wasn't supposed to be on the front lines, wasn't supposed to be near royalty, definitely wasn't supposed to be anywhere near history-level emergencies. Yet as the ground trembled beneath them and distant explosions echoed through the floating cliffs, he knew things had changed. "Your Majesty, we need to move," Marcus said, stepping forward. His voice remained calm in a way only a human voice could, forged through generations of Earth's disasters, tragedies, and violent unpredictability. He wasn't immune to fear. Humans never were, but he knew how to carry it. The guards opened the path, but another explosion blasted the outer wall, shards of crystal spraying like razor hail. The shockwave sent guards tumbling and left the queen exposed. That was when the screens throughout the hall flickered. A symbol appeared, one all Lysorians dreaded: the sigil of the Kazakh marauders, raiders from the void, merciless, swift, infamous for taking monarchs for ransom or execution. Queen Tizerial whispered a single word: impossible. But the impossible was already kicking down her palace doors. Marcus reacted first, instinct overriding shock. He grabbed the queen by the arm and pulled her behind a fractured pillar just as plasma fire scorched through the throne room. Mori guards fell, chittering in agony. The survivors looked at the queen, then at the incoming marauders, and something inside them broke. One guard dropped his weapon, then another, then all at once an avalanche of terrified movements swept through the hall. The elite royal guard, the legendary shielded cohort, ran. They didn't retreat, they fled. The queen stared after them, stunned into silence, abandoned in her own palace, her own sanctuary, her own moment of death. Only one figure remained standing between her and the marauders. A single human. Marcus Hale rolled his shoulders, cracked his neck, picked up a fallen Lysorian polearm, and said the words that later generations would carve into monuments. "Ma'am, I'm not going anywhere." And when the guards ran, the human stayed. Plasma fire slashed across the crystal floors as the marauders stormed through the shattered entrance. Their metallic armor clanked like a war drum, echoing behind every breath Marcus took. He scanned the battlefield, collapsed guards, injured soldiers crawling away, smoke curling through the cracks in the ceiling, and he knew the queen had seconds, not minutes. Queen Tizerial, shaking, whispered, "Why do you remain when my own protectors do not?" Marcus adjusted his grip on the polearm, feeling the alien material hum in his palms. "Because running isn't what we do," he answered. "Humans ran from danger plenty of times, but humans also ran toward danger for people they barely knew. And sometimes they stood their ground for people they'd known only hours." The marauders saw the queen and charged as one, roaring triumph. Marcus lunged forward, swinging the polearm in a wide arc. The weapon sliced into the lead marauder's joints, sending it sprawling. Another tried to flank him, but Marcus dropped low and jammed the butt of the polearm into its visor. The machine-like warrior collapsed with a screeching crackle of sparks. Tizerial could only stare. Her guards were trained from birth, enhanced, armored, conditioned. Marcus was flesh and bone, yet he fought like a creature born for conflict. "How?" she breathed, unable to stop herself. Marcus kicked another attacker back and answered between strikes. "Humans don't need claws or armor. We improvise." The marauders regrouped and pressed forward with coordinated ferocity. Marcus held the line, blocking, striking, shoving them back with raw determination. But there were too many, and he knew he couldn't hold forever. He glanced at the queen. Her breathing was shallow, her iridescent skin flickering with stress. Her people had abandoned her, her throne was shattered, her world collapsing in real time. Marcus threw her a small, reassuring grin. "We're gonna walk out of here, I promise." "Promise," she repeated, as if tasting the unfamiliar weight of the word. "Promise." A new wave of marauders surged, heavier armored, more dangerous. Marcus shoved the queen behind a column and took the hit meant for her. Plasma burned into his side, and he bit down a scream. Humans weren't invincible, but Marcus fought through pain the way humans always had, by sheer will. The marauders paused as their commander stepped forward, towering and adorned with jagged plating. Its voice rattled the air. "Stand aside, human, we only want the queen." Marcus spat blood on the floor, wiped his mouth, and lifted the polearm again. "Yeah, that's not happening." The commander cocked its head, its optics narrowing. "Why risk your life for a queen not of your species?" Marcus shrugged. "Doesn't matter what species she is, she's under my protection." Queen Tizariel's throat tightened. Her people had abandoned her, but the human stayed. And that choice echoed louder than any explosion ripping her palace apart. Marcus pulled the queen into the Hall of Falling Stars. Its ceiling was a vast dome of shimmering energy panels that simulated the night sky of Lysoria. Thousands of drifting lights moved slowly overhead, like celestial fireflies trapped in crystal. Under normal circumstances, the hall was calming, nearly sacred, but today its beauty was shattered by floating debris and flickering lights. The queen stumbled beside him, trying to keep up. "Sergeant Hale, you are injured." "Later," he growled through clenched teeth, "we move until we can't." Behind them, the marauders roared in pursuit. The sound carried through the corridors like a tidal wave of metal and fury. Marcus shoved a heavy crystalline door shut as they entered the hall, but he knew it would only slow them, not stop them. The queen pressed her hands together, her voice trembling. "My guards, they fled so quickly, without hesitation." Marcus limped but didn't slow down. Fear does that, even to trained soldiers. "And you fear nothing?" she asked, not accusing, but genuinely confused. "Oh, I fear plenty," Marcus said. "I'm terrified, but fear's not a command." The queen couldn't understand how someone so small, so fragile, could speak with such certainty. Lysorians required rituals, training, communal reinforcement to face danger. Humans, it seemed, needed none of that. The walls shook violently as breaching charges detonated behind them. Marcus spotted an emergency blast door panel and slammed his palm onto it. The doors began sealing shut with heavy thunks, but a marauder jammed its foot in the gap, screeching and forcing its arm through. Marcus swung the polearm, severing the limb, and kicked the door until it closed fully. The queen's heart raced. "You saved me again." "Gotta keep the streak going," he said with a strained grin. They reached the far end of the hall, where a large holographic display flickered with tactical readings. The palace defense grid had been overridden. The marauders controlled everything: escape routes, hangars, teleport pads. "Options?" Marcus asked. The queen scanned rapidly. "There is one, but it is dangerous." He chuckled. "Everything today's dangerous." "The celestial core," she said quietly. "A power nexus beneath the palace. If we reach it, I can trigger a lockdown pulse. It will disable all hostile technology within several kilometers." Marcus tightened his grip on the polearm. "Then we go to the core." The queen nodded, but then her expression faltered as heavy footsteps echoed down the hall behind them. The blast door glowed red from plasma cutters, the marauders slicing their way through with merciless precision. "Marcus," she whispered, voice cracking. He raised the weapon, planting himself between her and the threat once again. "Stay behind me, Your Majesty." The cutters sliced deeper. The doors buckled. And Marcus Hale, the lone human who refused to run, stood ready to buy the queen every second she needed. The celestial core chamber blazed with energy, pulsating with the power that sustained the entire floating palace. Pillars of blue-white light twisted like living rivers, humming with cosmic resonance. The queen hurried toward the central control pedestal as Marcus staggered behind her, bleeding but unbroken. "Just do what you need to do," he said, leaning against a support column. Tizeriel's hands fluttered over the controls. "This will take several minutes, perhaps longer." Marcus exhaled slowly. "Of course it will." The doors behind them exploded inward as the marauders forced their way into the chamber. Their armor gleamed under the radiant light, dozens of them pouring through like a metallic storm. The commander strode at the front, furious and determined. "You cannot win, human," it declared. "Surrender the queen." Marcus pushed off the wall, rolled his shoulders, and took a fighting stance despite his injuries. "I wasn't trying to win, just trying to keep her breathing." The marauders rushed him. He fought like a cornered animal with a mission, sweeping the polearm in desperate arcs, blocking plasma blades, jamming the weapon into armor gaps. He moved through pain as if it were a distant memory. Tizeriel watched with mounting horror and awe as he held back warriors twice his size. A marauder tackled Marcus, slamming him into the floor. His breath vanished in a grunt. The attacker raised a blade. Tizeriel screamed, "Marcus!" He twisted, grabbed a fallen shard of crystal, and drove it into the marauder's optics. Sparks burst, and the creature collapsed. But Marcus could barely rise now, blood pooling beneath him. The queen's trembling fingers moved faster over the controls. Almost. The commander approached Marcus slowly, savoring the moment. "You are an anomaly, human, a pointless creature spending his life on a foreign queen." Marcus looked up, vision blurring. "Yeah, well, humans are weird like that." The commander raised its blade. But before it struck, the queen leapt between them, spreading her forearms wide. "Enough," she shouted. "You will not touch him." The commander hesitated, momentarily confused. "You protect him, a lesser being." Tizeriel's voice rose with regal fury. "He has shown more loyalty than my entire guard, more courage than warriors born for battle. He is no lesser, he is the only one who stayed." Marcus tried to push her aside, but she held firm. The core hummed to life. A rising crescendo. A pulsing surge. Tizeriel slammed her palm onto the final activation glyph, for Lysoria. A supernova of blinding light erupted from the core, washing through the chamber, sweeping outward across the palace. Marauders froze as their armor and weapons deactivated simultaneously, collapsing like puppets with cut strings. The commander staggered, powerless, optics dimming. Marcus exhaled in relief and fell forward. The queen caught him before he hit the floor, cradling him gently, her voice breaking. "Marcus, stay with me, please." The palace fell silent, and the human, who refused to run, closed his eyes. Marcus awoke to softness, warmth, and the faint scent of alien blossoms. He blinked slowly, finding himself lying in a medical chamber of shimmering crystal walls. Lights pulsed gently above him like living stars. For a moment, he wondered if he was dead, if this was some afterlife with far too much polished architecture. Then a familiar voice whispered, "You live." Queen Tizeriel sat beside him, her regal posture replaced by tired relief. Her hands, delicate but strong, rested gently over his. When she saw his eyes open fully, she let out a trembling breath she had held far too long. "You frightened me," she murmured. Marcus groaned lightly. "Sorry, it's kind of a habit." She gave a soft, chittering laugh. "A terrible habit, but one I am grateful for." He tried to sit up, but she pressed a hand to his shoulder. "Rest, Marcus Hale." He blinked. "How long was I out?" 2 days, she said. "Enough for the council to return, for the guards to face judgment, and for the galaxy to learn of the human who protected their queen." Marcus winced. "Oh no, I'm famous, aren't I?" "Infamous," she corrected gently. "Your actions have spread far beyond Lysoria. Many admire you, many fear you, and all wonder why a human would stand against impossible odds for a queen not of his people." He shrugged, wincing. "Someone had to." Tizeriel leaned closer, her expression softening in a way no Lysorian texts had ever described of their monarchs. I wish to understand humans better, to understand you better. Marcus felt heat rise to his cheeks. Sure, diplomatic exchange and all that. She smiled, perhaps something more than diplomacy. Before he could respond, the doors slid open and nobles peered inside, bowing deeply to Marcus, a gesture once reserved exclusively for royalty. He stared in bafflement. Oh, this is weird. Tizeriel whispered, amused, get used to it, guardian of the queen. Is that my title now? He asked. It is the title you earned when everyone else ran, she said simply. Marcus looked at her, at the palace rebuilt around them, at the Lysorians who now viewed him with reverence, and he felt something shift inside him. A new purpose. A new belonging. The queen rose and extended her hand. Walk with me, Marcus. There is much to rebuild, and I would have you at my side. He took her hand, and with a soft smile he replied, I'm not going anywhere. The legend of the human who stayed was only just beginning.